for me, the real motivation for the Last Poets was the killing of Dr. King on April 4th, 1968. Why, to me, that was a motivating factor is because before then I was a college student. I was very much heading in the direction of becoming. At that time I saw aspirations of becoming a medical doctor, but when King was killed, my whole headset changed. I really took it almost personal, even though I knew I could never have marched with Dr. King. I was not down with having somebody call me names and hit me, and I'm just gonna stand, unretaliating and sing "We Shall Overcome." That didn't turn me on. That was not my style of relating. Because I really kind of, even though I didn't know about Malcolm that much, I prescribed more to his concepts of, forget trying to eat in a restaurant with these people. Build your own restaurant. Forget sitting on a toilet and their places. Build your own toilet. I believed in self-determination, but then I was raised like that. So when King was killed, I got fired up. I wanted to see some changes. I became, I think, almost an instant revolutionary. And then I met David Nelson the year before that at an anti-poverty program over in Spanish Harlem. And he was writing poetry. I had been dipping and dabbing into poetry because I had learned from my high school English teacher that I had some poetic skills. I wasn't really thinking of poetry being a major thing in my life. But David was sharing some of his work with me, and I was sharing some with him. And he had said that he wanted to put together a group, an ensemble of poets in a collective to give an example to black people that in order for us to have any kind of real success here, we have to do it in a unified front. So he wanted to put together a group of poets, and poets generally speaking are individuals. So he got together a collective of poets coming with the same basic theme, and we would face the world together as a unit. He thought that would have an impact. Anyway, when they killed Dr. King, I called David and I said, "Look, man, let's get this thing together soon." I said, I'm ready to explode. I want to do something. So what really happened is that he put my name, another brother named Gylan Kane, and his name, David Nelson, down on the list to read poetry at the commemoration for Malcolm X's birthday in Mount Morris Park, May 19th, 1968. And to be perfectly honest, when he called me and told me what he had done, I was happy, but I was scared to death. Because I was raised in Queens. I'd only seen Harlem on Sundays. Harlem intimidated me. Everybody else I saw walking the streets of Harlem just looked like champions. I mean, this was a place where black was so very strong and pronounced. And if you came off kind of with a shade of gray, you could probably get booed out of the daggone cosmos. I mean, I didn't know if I could do anything that would have any impact on the Harlem people. But he had said I got the names on the list to read at Malcolm X's birthday celebration, and so I came to Harlem. I came here trying to figure out what could I write to say on stage in front of some Harlem folks, some black power folks that would catch their attention and give me some kind of respect. And the process by which I wrote my first poem is still a process that I use today. I came to Harlem, I walked around, I kept my mouth shut, my eyes open, my ears open, and I listened. Black people are poetic. We say the most poetic things, and if you're really a poet, if you're a person that deals with weaving words together, you can get a tapestry just listening to black folks. And one of the expressions of the day was, "What's your thing, brother?" Everybody had that like as an introduction. Like, and when they say "What's your thing," it was like, were you a Panther or a Nation of Islam, Muslim or Sunni? It didn't mean, it was like, I don't work like for Dow Chemical or AT&T. It wasn't an occupation. Your thing had something to do with your revolutionary affiliation. And so I heard that, and I went home and I wrote a poem entitled "What is your thing, brother?" Oh, and by the way, it was during the same time. Everything coincides with our music a lot of times. the piece at the time, the hit, I think, was "It's Your Thing, Do What You Want to Do," and that was Isley Brothers. And so I'm sure that had something to do with that expression being so popular. So I went home and I wrote a piece called "What Is Your Thing, Brother? Is it a black thing? Will it save black women and children? Will it build a black nation?" And it really didn't have the poetic juice that I developed over the years, but I was right on in terms of the message. I was using slogan terms, what I would call today, as opposed to really giving you the poetic essence of what poetry is supposed to be about. But I did make an impacting statement because it was a statement of the times. And then I have the voice and I have the delivery. I can pull off anything. I can sing the tisket, a tasket, and make it work because my mother trained me how to speak clearly, how to project, how to add drama when necessary. So I could do that. I can get away with saying something that doesn't have the punch that I know I can deliver. So we went on stage May 19th, 1968, more or less being fashioned out of the philosophies of Malcolm X, not only because it was his birthday, but because his concepts, his philosophy just made sense to us. You know, to be a man, to be self-determined, to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, to not beg, to not ask anybody for nothing. And the last poets were coming out of that mold. And then the next thing was to have a place so we could have a center, so we could just perform business, have workshops, have shows anytime we wanted to just affect the whole black cultural movement of that time. And so we had a place between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue, and we named our place the East Wing. And it was a special spot. It was an L-shaped loft, and out of that place has come some phenomenal things. Jimmy Walker was the comedian that we had sometimes open for us, and I thought he was funny. Kane thought he was corny. Ended up becoming a big-time star with Good Times and everything else. National Black Theater was started out of our place. We charged Barbara Antia $75 a month, and she would rent the space out. I remember she put signs up on the door. Between 5:30 and 6:30, we're meditating. I was so bad. I'd come in there making all kinds of noise. I was just an unruly guy. But it was a very special time. And next door to our loft was the first African drum and dance studio ever in the country, Olatunji's loft. And whenever we had big affairs, like one of our biggest shows that we did was Sun Ra's Orchestra, Leroy Jones, Spirit House Movers and Players, who was Amiri Baraka at the time before he became Amiri Baraka, and The Last Poets. We sold tickets out 2 weeks before the show. And anytime we had a big show, we'd always have to rent chairs from Olatunji's loft. Amy Olatunji, who is Olatunji's wife, she's from Mississippi. She's a bona fide capitalist. She charged us $1 a chair back in 1968. And it was like, I used to feel so like we were just, we had no choice because she knew we needed the chairs. So she knew she was gonna get about $125 every time we did a show. And that was a decent piece of change at that particular time. So, I cracked on her about it once. She said, "You live in a capitalist world. We got to get paid." And she didn't bite her toe. She didn't apologize or nothing. But it was a hot time culturally, and it was what gave me a deep inroad into Harlem, a place I always had great respect and reverence for. It gave me a good ringside seat as to what's happening with black folks in what is considered to be the cultural mecca of the country.
For 40 years, we've sharpened our spears.
40 years.
Swallowed our tears.
40
and battled
years.
our fears. Amidst all
40
the cheers
years.
from those who love us so. Our words
40
were
years.
seeds that
40.
help things to grow.
40
For
years.
40 years, we
40
staked our
years.
claim, kept trying to explain
40
why life
years.
is insane, even use our own
40
pain
years.
to dissect this infectious game.
40 years.
For 40 years.
40 years.
For 40 years.
40 years.
The poets who called themselves last
40 years.
discovered their future in their past.
40 years.
Designed a map for men everywhere
40 years.
be the lighthouse of your island and let your
40
light be
years.
something that you share for 40 years.
40 years.
40 years. of jail and drugs and
40
kisses
years.
and hugs and one-night stands and
40
being married
years.
to fans and got kids everywhere for the
40
most part in
years.
touch with passion flowing
40
like a
years.
river. It still hurts so much.
40
For
years.
40 years of Shango
40 years.
and Allah and Jesus and
40
whoever
years.
believes in you. 40 years
40
of
years.
crack, heroin, and alcohol. Just a little
40
something
years.
to help you make it through.
40 years.
40
40
years,
years.
of lying
40
and
years.
flying and let the truth
40
smack you
years.
in your face.
40 years.
40 years
40 years.
of being the flavor of your own taste.
40
for
years.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years
40 years.
of record deals
40 years.
and sample steals
40 years.
and festive
40 years.
meals with
40
snakes
years.
and eels
40 years.
and fights for who
40
has the
years.
right to be
40 years.
in the night we live
40 years.
in the day we can't
40
see
years.
the stab wounds
years.
the heartaches
40
the
years.
living tunes the
40
heartbreaks it's the road
40
we
years.
travel they call it
years.
fate for 40
years.
years 40 years of poetry
40 years.
like silver bullets
40
from a
years.
machine gun
40 years.
a rapid fire
40
of
years.
ancestral spears
40
piercing the plastic
40
of our
years.
cover, ripping
40
to
years.
shred the fabric
40 years.
of these American lies,
40 years.
dropping bombs
40 years.
on theories that
40
pronounce
years.
us dead, setting
years.
fire to a language
40
that
years.
speaks only
40
of the
years.
blues for 40 years. For 40 years,
40 years.
we have raised the
40
roof,
years.
been living
years.
proof
40
that
years.
words
40
can
years.
make you face
40
the
years.
truth.
40 years. 40 years.
40 years.
40 years.
40 years. 40 years. 40 years. 40 years. 40 years.